Hello, Asif.
All right, Dave.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very impressed with what you've got.
Thank you very much. We're going to do some recording with you today using a combination of some of your equipment and some of mine. And I was just wondering if you could talk us through your rig.
Sure. Basically, it runs off Ableton. Run Ableton off the Mac. I've got a MIDI interface over there, so I can control all my bits from there without spending too much time on the computer itself. Mm-hmm. And then I've got an old trigger finger. It's the old model trigger finger, so it's still quite old school. And I've got various bits of breakbeat and audio samples just mapped to the pads. So there are some loops and samples that I've got running off Ableton, but then also I tend to ad-lib with some breakbeat from the pad itself, and just see what comes up. Really, it's more of a jam rather than an established set, and so I'm just quite keen to see what you've got and what I've got and how they can work together. It's quite impressed with your TR8.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's one of those units that I myself don't use very often. It's actually nice to see it getting a little bit of use today. So the way that we're recording that, I kind of switched interfaces temporarily to use the Focusrite, and that meant that you could get some extra audio inputs from straight out from this, but you synced it up with the MIDI using that.
Yes, I've got the Novation SL0. So it's got MIDI through and MIDI out as well there. So the clock's coming from Ableton, but that synchronizes your TR8 with the same sort of rhythm.
Yeah.
And then we can just lay down a beat and then improvise on top of that.
Yeah, which is really cool. And I was impressed as well with just how quickly that integrated together, because sometimes I've had headaches with MIDI, but it was actually pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
It was seamless, and so your setup, you've got most of the cables we'd need anyway. So if people just bring this stuff across, you can just stick them in. You've got a Moog?
Yeah. I'll just go into that. Yeah, it's we didn't have a chance to have a play around with it today, but I have got a video in the works talking about that.
I'll just have to come again.
Yeah. Well, it's the Mini Moog is like a mono synth.
Yep.
Which is really, really good for bass lines and
for sure.
things like that. So I think you will have to come again and definitely have a play with that. What I found with it personally was that it is an absolute black hole of twiddliness.
Sure.
Because there's just so much that you can do with that.
But it also goes back to the basis of sound synthesis, isn't it? It's not just saying stick in a plug-in and see what comes up. It's actually going back to creating sound from the bare bones.
Yes, definitely. And though we do live in an age of amazing plugins and things like that, it is nice, I feel, to just have some analog stuff around in the studio. And like you say, it does go to that root of synthesis. And like I say, I found personally it was an absolute mare when I was having a go with it to try and I was trying to do a video the other day, man, and I just found myself trying to explain things and then like just randomly pressing notes, and then there's just a lot of me going this kind of does a kind of scenario, so I might have to redo that one to be a bit more concise maybe when I've done that reading the manual thing.
Who does that?
Apparently there are people out there that do that. I haven't met one yet, but apparently there are manual people out there.
Yeah, but I'd be very keen to see, particularly the bass frequencies coming from that thing.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you reckon to the sound system here?
Sound system's great. I'm just amazed that you've fitted it all into this space. You've got some amazing gear. Just for mastering sound, very, very clean levels. and I'm also following the purple theme there.
Oh yeah. I love purple, man.
I can live with that.
Yeah. Like I say, I think I've pushed the purple theme about as far as it can go. I thought I'd gone to extremes when I got the purple cables like that I custom made myself. And then I was like, oh no, I can get a purple drum kit as well. I was like, yeah, that takes it even further. Even got a purple lamp. Look man.
So what's your plan with the space, then, Dave?
My plan is to use it for recording, producing videos, all sorts of different media I can do in here. I can use it for mastering, mixing, recording. I could use it for recording singer-songwriters, or like say I've got quite a lot of nice acoustic guitars and things around the place, a lot of guitar. I mean, I'm using it for electronic music today, but there's also possibilities with using recording bands. I've got some nice tube amps here. Got a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe downstairs for guitarists, and
because we were chatting earlier about how musicians are good at sharing their sound, but not necessarily talking about the sound, and just getting people to work together and collaborate. I think it's a great space for that as well, isn't it? Just people with different varying musical tastes.
Yeah, that's certainly, we need to explore that. Yeah, I mean, there are some absolutely fantastic musicians in this area. And one of the issues that I've found since building this place is actually communicating to people. Sure. Not just the fact that it exists, but what it is actually capable of.
Yeah.
And I think it's maybe because people haven't recorded in studios before, or maybe they just haven't seen the space. I don't think people really realise what is actually
I must
possible
admit,
in here.
Yeah, I've underestimated it, and coming in today was a bit of an eye-opener. Just seeing the stuff you've got here back into the space.
Yeah, I mean, there's synths coming out of the walls, man. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those places that the whole house is like a studio, and there's like just gear stashed into cupboards and things that, it boggles my own mind sometimes. Like when people just go, "Oh, I was just wondering if you had this,"
The answer is probably yes.
Yeah. Just a second, I'll just look under my bed. Oh, look, there's an effects pedal from the 70s. So, yeah, anyway, it was great to have you here, Asif.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for
I hope you've had a good time, and we'll get this video put together. And
and thanks for giving me a chance to mess about with your toys. Looking forward to that.
No problem. Okay.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, man.